Kevin, welcome to the new season. It's a point from a draw this afternoon at the Doherty Walk Stadium, home of Kings Lynn Town, and I feel sure that there will certainly be aspects of that performance which you feel could have been better, but at the same time the resilience shown by the team to come away with a point, I imagine must have pleased you.
Yeah, as you say, it's a bit of a mixed bag. I think, emotion-wise, where we've been under the cosh a little bit for probably the first 25-30 minutes, then we go up the other end and find our moment when you have to. Sometimes you have to play on the counter-attack against decent sides. Got that moment, got ourselves into the lead, and then could possibly have killed the game off with taking them obviously for all their pressure in the first period. They've had one moment where the guys come inside and hit the bar, but they haven't. I don't think they've played around us, which is kind of pleasing. You have to stick your head in and be competitive and come to difficult places like this and be prepared to do exactly that. And then, like you say, the second half for large parts, we've had to defend. They're a good side with capable players in the group, and we maybe lived a little bit dangerously at times, but sometimes that's what happens away from home. Got a lot of young men in there that won't have experienced that sort of situation on too many occasions. Disappointed to concede the goal like we have. Is for throwing that's high up the field, and we've been far too open, and that's a little bit disappointing. But again, lads are digging in for one another and staying strong, and to take a point away, you'd have taken that at the start of the game. Kings Lynn will feel that they should have taken all 3 points. They'll be, other than, like I say, taking all three, I think they'll be relatively comfortable with their performance, and so are we to a point. We know we need to improve in certain areas. We know to manage the ball better than we have there in certain areas. That bit of calmness in the heat of the moment is something that we're searching for, and something we've got to encourage those young players to go and find. They are capable, but yeah, look, Kings Lynn are a full-time side that to try and bridge that gap is tough for any side, but certainly pleased with the togetherness and some outstanding performances there. Alfie's done very well, and several others where they've dug in, show what it means to them to be scrapping and battling for this club, and that's a important asset to have, and it will be very much needed as we move forward, and certainly on the road.
Sure, I suppose thinking about perhaps we mentioned it last week about some of the comments about perhaps people's perceived lack of experience in the team. What you did have last season and what you've tried to retain by holding on to most of that group is that togetherness and that sort of like to the will that took you towards an 18-game unbeaten run at the end of last season, and the character.
Character's a big thing in it, and you're gonna, like I say, you're in difficult environments where you have to show that characteristic, and be able to dig deep for one another and put your body on the line there at certain times and come up with big moments like Alfie's made a fantastic save there to keep us in the game. It's tough when you're on the road, and it's not as open as step 3 football, and we've got a lot of players there that are making that step forward, which was tough at times for them today, but fair play to them. They've kept on it and kept organised, or prepared to keep working. Clearly we can grow, clearly we can get better, and we will need to get better if we're going to stay competitive at this level, but there's a hunger, I think, within that change room to do exactly that. Boys who went on have all gone on and had a decent enough effect. Like I say, having a fairly deep squad numbers wise is I think is good for us, and hopefully will prove crucial as we start to move deeper into the season.
Sure. Your captain, Luke Rowe, has led by example there. I think probably typified by the fact that in the last couple of minutes of the game, I think he may already picked up an injury by that point, but a real lung-busting run to get back and cover and concede a corner, rather than see the Kings Lynn man race away, and that's the kind of thing that rubs off on the younger players around him, isn't it? Very
much so. He's wholehearted and totally committed, Luke, and he's brave, and he wants to lead, and he leads in a good way, and he came in and was a massive player for us last season when he joined us, on all sorts of fronts, and he does help bind the group together. and as you quite rightly point out, he's come up with some big moments there. Yeah, it's it's always tough on the road, and we know from when we first came into the club how difficult it was for the club to win away from home. That won't get any easier. Lots of full-time teams in it, but that's where we want to be, isn't it? We want to be in big games all the time and challenge what we are and what we're about, and hopefully grow together and become more effective. And hopefully, some of those younger players will make good improvements, and hopefully quite quick improvements to what's needed. But yeah, I'm fairly comfortable with the group. Hopefully we come out of today with not too many injuries, and we can have a look at it and pick the bones out of today through the course of the week.
I think since the last time we spoke, there have been additions to the squad. You've mentioned Alfie there, and if supporters do get a chance to see the save he made towards the end, I think they will appreciate what a fine save it was. You've got Freddie Cook added to the group as well. Finally got situation resolved with Dylan. You were short today of Brandon and Jordan because of family matters, but with those two back next week, you're potentially looking at a full squad of 21, and all of a sudden you've got some selection dilemmas.
Yeah, it's just Jamie that's injured, isn't it? Outside of that, and again, we wanted him to bring him to the club. He's had a difficult pre-season with the injury he's got. I'm hoping he's not too far away now, and hopefully he can come in and show what he's all about and make a big impact for us. But yeah, having Jordan and Brandon back will naturally give everybody in the group a lift. They're both experienced players now, and not having them today is always a concern. But Alfie's, like I say, gone in there and had a terrific game for us. The other guys equally have all had really solid games in there for us. But yeah, look, Jordan's proved over a long period how consistent he can be and what a big player he can be for the club. And having him back will be a major boost for us. Looking at some of the others, you only find out how good they are when you see them in situations like this. But certainly, nobody's done themselves any harm today. But there's a lot of football to be played, and some real tough assignments ahead of us. So yeah, we've got to regroup through the week and hopefully look forward to Curzon next week and performing in front of our home fans.
Sure, nice that you haven't got a game on Tuesday, as I know sometimes can be the case in the National League. I imagine that was quite hard physical effort today. That's taken a lot out of people. Yeah,
there is, like I say, and that's the biggest thing with being full time. I think when you can rest at a certain time, where you haven't got to get up and go to work, and sometimes arriving home late in a midweek game, and you've got to go to work at 6-7 o'clock in the morning or whatever it might be. Listen, that's tough for young men to ask them to compete out there and then go and do that as well. But I've been lucky enough to work with lots of players that are able to bridge that gap and can bridge that gap, and it can be bridged, but you've just got to be really disciplined about what you do, and you learn it's how far you want to take it. And it to play at this level and compete at this level against full-time teams does take a lot of sacrifice as a player. There's loads that can play at it, but whether they want a real impact, like I say, takes a real discipline. Hopefully we've got enough players in the group that want to do that.
Kevin, thank you very much as always for your time. You haven't got too far to go to put the kettle on this evening. I gather you're staying in this neck of the woods for a little bit longer.
We might have something a little bit stronger, but yeah, not too many. I'm just